Welcome. I'm sorry I've been away for a while. A word of explanation. Uh, my last video that I released introduced two iMac G4s. Since then, I have been waiting, first of all, on RAM. No point in opening it up until you've got the RAM to put in it. Well, the RAM came in a couple of days ago. I went to open up the iMac, and I discovered while the bottom panel comes off very easily with Phillips screwdrivers, inside, once you get to that, if you want to get at the logic board to do anything serious, you've got four Torx T15s. The biggest Torx driver I have is a T10. I don't know that I've ever actually used that. So I ordered a full set of Torx drivers, but deliveries seem to come in slower under the circumstances we're living in. So I thought I would fill in with a look at what is actually the oldest computer that I own. I actually got this a couple of years ago when I first started to think about rebuilding my vintage Mac collection. This is heavy, first of all. It is a PowerBook 1400 CS/166 from 1997, making it by about a year the oldest computer that I own. Look at this thing. The top alone of the display is a little thicker than my 2015 MacBook Pro. And then there's the bottom, which is at least 2 times, maybe 3 times the thickness of the top. Different time. When I got it back then, I booted it up, noted that it lacked a CD drive and any kind of connectivity. So I ended up, at that point, putting it aside and pretty much forgetting that I even had it. So, why don't we take a closer look at it? We'll be right there. Alright, we're looking at the PowerBook 1400 CS from the back right now. So we can see its selection of ports. That's where the power brick plugs in. We have microphone and audio out. So cute little drop down door hiding. That would be a serial port. I think. Maybe it's a modem port. I don't really know. That's an ADB port, so you can collect an external mouse or mouse and keyboard if you want. And that's a serial port. All right. Yeah, as far as that is, I'm really not sure. It might be a modem port, actually. And this, I'm thinking, has got to be an infrared. The original iMac G3, the Bondi Blue, came with infrared. At the time, there was a little tablet-like thing that Apple was trying to push, marketed for schools. I forget exactly what it was called off the top of my head. But it would communicate with computers via infrared. So a lot of Apple computers right around this time had infrared. Now, on this side here, we have 2 PCMCIA slots, or PC slots for short. into which you can insert cards, and there are two of them. So that's a possibility for some relatively easy expansion there. We come into here. That's the battery, and that's the floppy drive. Now, I don't know if I can do this with one hand. No, I can't, so I'm going to put you down for a second. So yes, by moving that little lever, and then with the second, you've got to hold the lever, then with the second hand, pull it out, you can remove the floppy drive and replace it. These were supposed to come with CD drives. They were the first Apple portables that came with CD drives, but the CD drive did not come with this machine, more's the pity. And I've done a little bit of looking on eBay, and I am not finding anything. There was one, but it turned out it's the drive all right, but it's not in the enclosure that it would need to be in order to slot into this nifty slot. So we'll put that back in. Now, we've got a latch there, and we open it up. Oh look, it's a Macintosh. And that beautiful little rainbow apple. And there we see, yes, PowerBook 1400 CS 166. These computers were the last of the PowerBook line prior to the introduction of the PowerBook G3 series, the Lombard, Wall Street, and eventually Pismo computers, which were also black plastic, but obviously quite a bit more powerful than this. This was the most powerful with a 166 megahertz processor. It was released in December of 1997 and then phased out in early second quarter 1998 when the first of the G3s was introduced, supplanting it. All right. It's got a little miniature trackpad here, and it also has a click button. One button, of course, this being a Mac. Keyboard, which has kind of a nice feel to it, actually. I think it would be very reasonable to be typing on this keyboard. And I do have to say, it appears to be in remarkably good condition. There really isn't a whole lot of wear on it. I'm wondering if perhaps this was replaced. All right. Well, the next step is going to be to get it set up and to try booting it up. Now, when I did get this, as I said, I got it about 2 years ago. I did boot it up at that point. It was running some version of OS 9, but there's just no connectivity. I couldn't get it online. I couldn't get it to access my network. I actually got an Ethernet PC card, but the problem with that was that to install the drivers required a CD, and this machine hasn't got a CD drive with it. So anyhow, since I'm waiting on parts to do the iMac G4s, let's have a look at this and see what's up with it. So we'll be back in just a bit. Stay tuned. All right, this machine has not been booted up in about 2 years, or whenever exactly it was that I first got it. I did boot it up then, as I believe I said. And since there was no real connectivity, I just put it away. Well, thought it'd be a nice little stopgap video here. All right. Let's see. Well, it still chimes. That's something. You've still got video. This is a 20 Happy Mac. Son of a gun. This is a 23-year-old computer. Well, more like 22 and a half, I guess, since it was December of 1997, and we're at the very beginning of May, end of April, beginning of May in 2020. Okay, macOS 9.1, and it is continuing to start up. OS 9 always starts on the slow side. According to everymac.com, which is the go-to site for information about older Macs, macOS 9.1 is the maximum operating system it can support. It originally shipped with macOS 8.0, which makes sense because OS 8 was released first in 1997. Right? Doesn't appear to be. Oh, nope, there's the control strip. All right. Trackpad works. Almost too responsive. Of course, I'm having a little trouble seeing because I've got the screen, and credit to this, the 1400 CS, the CS designation referred to the improved screen that this model had over the 1400 and 1400C. Network time error, of course, because the battery is dead. We can see that there. And it's been plugged in for quite a while. So no, it isn't 4:42 in the morning. All right then. An obligatory look at about this computer. And we see things we already knew. macOS 9.1. Built-in memory, 32 megabytes. Which I think was actually an upgrade, to tell you the truth. And that is supplemented with 128 megabytes of virtual memory. And virtual memory is in use on Mac computers to this very day. Particularly can keep older Macs viable on newer versions of the operating system. It's not as good as real RAM. All right. So, yeah, that's about all that's got to tell us there. Let's look here at System Profiler. Not exactly a speed demon, is it? Okay. Yeah, the processor info, PowerPC 603 EV, running at 166 megahertz, which we knew. All right. Devices and volumes. I almost wonder if this machine wouldn't be better off with OS 8. Given how badly this is running. Okay. It is showing the floppy disk. What can you tell us about the display? Screen size 800 by 600, which isn't bad. 256 colors, so it's not doing millions. All right, but yeah. Hard drive. Toshiba. $1.43 or 1.34, so essentially 1.4 gig. I believe, if I'm remembering every Mac correctly, that would be the original hard drive. Okay, Mac OS Standard rather than Extended. Interesting. 25% full. All right. Well, I think that's enough of System Profiler. Quit out of that. Okay, your usual run of control panels. Click on the mouse settings. Oh yeah. Let's leave it at that, because I'm finding it almost too responsive. Which is an interesting thing to say, isn't it? All right. Recent documents. Grandfather's clock. Kentucky Waltz. What's the grandfather's? Oh. Okay, so that's been deleted, which is a good thing. You know, private files have been deleted. They're just still showing up in the Apple menu. Okay, recent applications. PageMaker. Word. Actually, it's got two different versions of PageMaker on there. QuickTime. And what version of Word there is. Okay. Well, that's not there either. Interesting. Previous owner named the hard drive laptop as though we would be confused. Let's see what the get info tells us. Yep, macOS Standard, as we saw earlier, 1.34 gigabytes using 357.7 megabytes. Seems a little light, but hey. What the heck? Okay. Let's open this up. Huh. This is a little strange. At the very least, we should be seeing an applications folder and a documents folder. So the system folder is here. This is like the bare minimum that will allow the system to boot. Have a look in the system folder. I was trying to two-finger scroll. 1997, that's not going to work. All right. See what extensions will show us. Apple Guide, address book. All basic Apple extensions. Claris Kermit tool. High Sierra file access. I'm curious about that, but all right. PowerBook 1400 README. Ah, geez. The document PowerBook 1400 README could not be opened because the application simple text could not be found. Oh, good Lord. All right. I see what's going on here. The previous owner, in selling this computer, rather than wipe the hard drive and do a clean reinstall of the operating system, simply deleted everything. The documents folder and the entire applications folder. I mean, simple text is part of Mac OS 9. It's an integral part of it. It lives in the applications folder. Huh. So yeah, like I said, absolute minimum that will allow the computer to boot. Meaning, in essence, this computer is essentially worthless. You can't do anything with it as it sits right now. Now, what to do about that? My first thought, I'm thinking right off the top of my head here, my first thought immediately would be, well, let's reinstall OS 9. Well, I don't have installation media for anything other than 9.2.2, and that won't run on this machine. But I was thinking OS 8 might very well run better on it. But the only installation media I've got is a CD, and there's no CD drive. Lord. All right, I'm going to have to do some studying here. See if I can either get a version of OS 8 on floppy disks, or more likely, there's got to be some place, one of the Vintage Mac sites has got to have floppy disk images available. Take that, make my own floppy disks, and install an operating system that will actually work, and then go from there, I guess. Well, I'll work on that a little bit. We're going to have to see if we're actually going to be able to do anything more with this computer or not. I kind of hope so, because, you know, it's an interesting old machine. I like to see it actually be able to do something. Well, in any event, I think we're done with what I can do at this point. I hope you've enjoyed this look into Apple Past. And the first, well, no, second, because I did the PowerBook G4, the second notebook computer that I've done. So I guess we'll just wrap up the video now. be good to other people, be very good to yourselves, and take very good and careful care. We'll be seeing you quite soon, I'm sure.